It's official. Trump has ordered the Department of Justice to no longer prosecute men for abusing children. He has decided that all of the men that were involved with Epstein to violently assault and abuse children will not be held accountable. He will not be prosecuting them. And they can continue to assault children wherever they want. He fired the lead prosecutor. He said the case is over and done with. He said it was a hoax, even though we have dozens and dozens of women who are out there saying this happened to them. And they know the names of the men who did this to them. Trump has decided they're not going after those men. They're allowed to roam free. Do we understand that the administration has taken a stance in favor of men abusing children? That is their official position. They're letting these men go out and abuse more children, knowing full well who they are, because the women who were children when they were originally assaulted told them who they are, and they're choosing not to go after them.
Breaking news, it turns out in 2009, it appears that Donald Trump was actually helping the Epstein victims' lawyers with getting information on Jeffrey Epstein. Now we understand why he does not want that case released, because the same evidence he probably pointed out for Epstein can be used for himself. Why else would he not be transparent? Listen to what this lawyer said.
Understand why it's a hostile act. I can tell you that I talked to President Trump back in 2009, and several times after that, he didn't think that it was a hoax then. In fact, he helped me. He got on the phone. He told me things that were helping our investigation. Now, our investigation wasn't looking into him, but he was helping us then. He didn't treat this as a hoax. So at this point in time, I would hope that he would revert back to what he was saying to get elected, which is, I want transparency. This about face that occurred, none of us understand it. In fact, I don't understand how this is an issue that's even up for debate. How do you not stand behind these women after you've heard their stories and know that hundreds of them were abused, and it was only because files are being kept in secrecy? The world should know who he is, who protected him.
Now, I'm like him. If you were helping me in 2009, why suddenly a change of face? We all hear what he's saying to the GOP, that if they sign on to Representative Massey's discharge position, they would be seen as making a hostile action towards the Trump administration. What makes it hostile? Please, somebody in the comments explains to me, because I can't for the life of understand. Like, the idea that Trump did something wrong and is in his files gets up higher and higher every single day as more information comes to light. Y'all tell me what y'all think about all this in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Nothing makes me want to see the Epstein files more than Donald Trump's constant insistence that everybody stop asking to see them. And nothing convinces me he's all over them more than him passionately calling the whole thing a hoax every chance he gets. Yesterday, he did just that once again, taking to Truth Social to say the whole thing was a Democratic hoax and that they never did anything about it while they were in office. But technically, saying Democrats did nothing is true, but it's also misleading as hell. Biden and Kamala Harris let the criminal case play out without political interference. That's exactly what they were supposed to do to maintain the integrity of the courts. Nothing. But Trump twists even that, because in his party, if you're not exploiting victims for political ammo, then you're just not doing enough for him. There's no question a lot of people failed these women for years. Multiple presidents, lawmakers on both sides, a lot of investigators, just inaction after inaction. But here's the difference. Trump made a lot of promises on the campaign trail that put him in a unique position. He said he would be the first president who actually had a commitment to transparency and would give these women a chance at justice. And what did he do with that chance? He's insulted the survivors, mocked their fight for justice, and turned transparency into a campaign slogan, just to slam the door once he got into his position of power. Now, he's doing more to hide this information than anyone who came before him. Even as survivors stood in front of cameras, begging him directly, passionately, and publicly for help, he did nothing but called them a hoax again. That's not just cowardice. That's guilt seeking out of his orange pores. Either he's protecting himself or he's protecting his buddies, whose names he knows damn well for sure are in those files. These women have already waited decades for justice. Trump had the chance to help them, and instead he spat in their faces. So let's be clear. The only hoax here is Donald Trump pretending he ever cared about exposing Epstein in the first place. Democrats always wanted justice. We were just waiting for it.
Now, Trump was the FBI informant is what Republicans want us to believe. Trump was the FBI informant in the Epstein files. But let me tell you, what Trump did, he found out that Epstein was being investigated. He found out. And I told you, call Trump anything, but never call him stupid. So after finding out that Epstein was being investigated, what he did, he cut a deal with FBI. Drop all the charges, I give you all the information. That's what Trump did. So saying that Trump was an informant from the word go is very wrong. It's a lie. Trump protecting women is a lie. So Trump, what he did is that he knew that FBI was investigating Epstein. And when he knew they were investigating, he knew that they would find his name there. Obviously, they would find a link if they began the investigation. What did he do? Trump is a snitch. That's what he did to save his skin. So now he is protecting the list not to be released because he knows he is in the list despite cutting a deal with the FBI. So he thought that maybe by cutting a deal with the FBI, his name will not be there and there was nothing that would tie him to it. He was shocked finding out that the Epstein was not a stupid person. He had compiled a list beforehand. Things are very bad for Trump.
Wow, we have some breaking news. Tonight we learned that the Justice Department is working to keep the names of 2 of Jeffrey Epstein's associates under wraps. I mean, wow. NBC News revealed that these individuals received large wire transfers from Epstein, one for about $150,000 and the other for $250,000. In 2018, just weeks after the Miami Herald blew open the case against him. So here's the key. 2 people were identified as potential co-conspirators in the original plea deal that let Epstein avoid serious time behind bars. They were even granted immunity from prosecution in that deal. But instead of allowing the public to know who they are, the Trump administration's Justice Department argued to a federal judge that their privacy matters more. The timing of the payments suggests Epstein may have been trying to keep allies quiet as his world closed in. Yet years later, his network is still being protected from scrutiny. So why are we, the American people, being denied the right to know who was involved? My name is Jared Zisser. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Substack, and YouTube for breaking news, updates, and the full story. You guys are awesome.
You could sign that petition right there that would release those unredacted files. Now let's also be clear. Donald Trump issued a statement today that said to all of you Republicans here in this chamber, that if you sign that discharge petition, he will count it as a hostile act. That's right, the United States president is threatening members of his own party in this chamber from signing a petition that would release the full unredacted Epstein files. So my question is, what are they hiding? Who are they protecting? And why are our colleagues failing to have a backbone, not only to stand up for the survivors, but to stand up for the American people?
How's everybody feeling this morning after learning that President Trump was an informant for the FBI regarding Jeffrey Epstein? Yesterday, while talking to reporters, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson said that President Trump had been an FBI informant regarding Jeffrey Epstein since 2006. I'm sure there's still going to be arguments from Democrats and kickback from the left about this. They absolutely refuse to believe that this president has any good in him at all. Even though victims have said he was innocent, the lawyers have said he was innocent, Epstein's brother said he was innocent, they're not having it. Speaker Johnson also clarified what Trump was calling the hoax regarding the Epstein case. President Trump was not referring to the entire Jeffrey Epstein case as a hoax. The part he is calling the hoax is the list and the fact that they are trying to tie President Trump to Epstein in nefarious ways. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. You all have a wonderful weekend. God bless you.
Wait, you mean to tell me that Donald Trump was an FBI informant back in 2009 while Jeffrey Epstein was being investigated?
The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
That was in 2009?
That was in 2000.
This is truly how I'm imagining liberals responding after seeing this interview. So I said in an interview the other day about Jeffrey Epstein that Donald Trump was actually working with the FBI, and I was told I was a liar and pulling that information out of my ass. Well, clearly not.
You are now looking at a photo of the largest ever gathering of Epstein survivors. Over 100 survivors, many of whom have told their story before, but some who have never ever come forward, bravely gathered at Capitol Hill and told their stories today. Not only are we going to listen to their testimony, listen to videos of them, but I also want to talk about the broader effort to shut down this movement. Not only shut down the release of the files themselves, but Donald Trump is actively trying to stop gatherings like this from happening. And people in his cabinet, people in his administration, were openly threatening Republicans who voted for this discharge petition. Let me explain, and then we'll dig into the survivors' stories. So we learned last night that the Trump White House was threatening GOP lawmakers if they signed Representative Thomas Massie's petition to release the files. They said it will be treated as a, quote, hostile act. This is not how innocent people act. This is how cover-ups get enforced. Dave points out, a hostile act is a threat. So why would Trump feel threatened? Why would it be a hostile act towards him unless the answer is the most obvious one, that he could potentially be a major player in the very thing that they are investigating? I want you to listen to Representative Thomas Massie's answer when asked about this hostile act. Keep in mind, Thomas Massie is a Republican who is leading the charge along with Representative Ro Khanna and a few other Democrats. So this is a Republican being asked, how do you feel about being a hostile act?
But you're confident you'll get the signatures?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's a strong effort from the White House. They're literally calling it a hostile act to sign this discharge petition now. And I don't know if that's precedented in this country to have a president call legislators to say that they're engaged in a hostile act, particularly when the so-called hostile act is trying to get justice for people who've been victims of sex crimes.
Justice for the survivors. That's what this is all about, as we'll see in one moment when we listen to these videos. But I know that Representative Massie is doing a good thing here, but it's just rich to hear a Republican claim that Trump is doing something unprecedented that kind of spooked him. Like, really? Were you there at all during the first 4 years or the first 6 months of this term? Everything he does is an unprecedented power grab. Let's watch this video. In this video is Annie Farmer, somebody who was abused by Epstein in his very early days. You can hear the pain in her voice as she says, why wasn't this properly investigated in the late 90s, early 2000s? Why did this go on for like a decade, over a decade and a half? Take a listen.
My name is Annie Farmer, and I was 16 years old when I was flown to New Mexico to spend a weekend with Epstein and Maxwell. That same year, 1990.
All right, so after Mike Johnson claimed that Trump was an FBI informant, now the MAGA crowd is trying to claim that he's the hero of the situation and he seized the island and saved all of these children. I swear I'm not lying. Look at this. The first one's from Benny Johnson saying, with this new revelation, it's become clear that President Trump is the undisputed hero in the Epstein saga. Of course, he's citing Speaker Johnson's claim that Trump served as an FBI informant. Then this guy says Trump tried to help the victims in 2009 and provided information to attorneys to help their case against Epstein. Trump is the one who arrested Epstein, seized his island, saved the children, and shut down the entire operation once he became the president. Once Trump found out Epstein was a monster, because he definitely didn't know the past 10 years he was friends with him, Trump did everything in his power to stop what was going on. Epstein and Trump are not buddies. Trump is Epstein's greatest enemy, and the Dems have known that this entire time. Their outrage is fake. But there's a big problem with this theory they're spreading around. Trump has been denying the Epstein case even existed in the first place. Remember, he's publicly said that the Democrats made up the whole thing multiple different times. So which one is it? Either Trump is the hero of the whole situation and he took down Epstein, or the whole case was fake. You can't have it both ways. And let's be clear, Trump did not arrest Epstein. Federal prosecutors did that years later. He wasn't leading any raids, he didn't seize the island, and he definitely wasn't saving children. All of this is just fiction trying to paint Trump as the hero because they know deep down that he's obviously guilty. We should be focused on the survivors and their stories, not making Donald Trump the hero of a situation he was so clearly involved in.
Did Donald Trump receive money from Jeffrey Epstein to cover up his sex crimes? Was Trump a co-conspirator in the whole mess? Well, we're getting some indications that that could be the case. Here's a letter from NBC News reporter Tom Winter to Judge Berman asking to unseal the redactions in some of the Epstein files. You see, in 2018, the Miami Herald wrote this article rehatching the allegations against Jeffrey Epstein. They also pointed out that Alex Acosta, the man who had given Epstein his sweetheart deal in Florida, had now been working in the current Trump administration as Donald Trump's labor secretary. Shortly after that article ran, the DOJ accused Epstein of sending 2 large sums of money to 2 individuals who they deemed to be either witnesses or co-conspirators with Jeffrey Epstein. The names of those 2 individuals were sealed, and that's what Tom Winter here wanted to have unredacted. But now Donald Trump's DOJ is asking that judge not to unredact these names due to privacy concerns. Which makes us wonder, why doesn't Trump's DOJ want these names unredacted? Could Donald Trump be one of the men who were paid off not to talk? Or is Donald Trump covering for one of his other friends? We don't know. What do you think?
So, if Trump is not in the Epstein files, then he should perhaps release them, because there is no essence of continuing holding them if he is not, if they don't incriminate him. So, he should stop this hypocrisy, saying that Trump was for the women who are being abused by the Epstein and his clients. That's a lie, because who are the 2 people who are being redacted by FBI to not appear in the Epstein list? Those are the questions we should be asking. So if Trump was an informant or he was good for the case, he should feel free to release the files, because during the campaigns, that's what he insisted, that he would release the files.